Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We're continuing our Big Ten football predictions today, and our next team started off just 2-3 last season, but finished the year on an 8-game win streak and are looking to continue that streak into the 2018 season. They are the Northwestern Wildcats. Northwestern is coming off their second 10-win season in the past 3 years and owned the nation's longest winning streak at 8 games, including their bowl win over Kentucky to cap off the year. This season, they returned 14 starters, including 7 on offense and 7 on defense. They're going to be led by Clayton Thorson, their returning quarterback on the offensive side of the ball, and he just needs a little over 3,000 yards passing to break the all-time passing record at Northwestern. They do lose Justin Jackson at running back, a big blow to their offense, but they do return Jeremy Larkin, who rushed over 500 yards last season, so he should be fairly experienced and should be a good backup to replace Jackson there. And then they return their top 2 wide receivers, including Flynn Nagel, and 4 of their 5 offensive linemen. So this Northwestern offense should still be pretty solid, just like they were last year. On defense, they also returned 7 starters, including Jordan Thompson and Joe Gaziano on the defensive line, and then they're going to be led by Trey Williams, Montre Hartage, and Jared McGee, all seniors in the secondary. So this Northwestern secondary, I think, is going to be the strength of their defense this year. I don't see Northwestern getting back to that 10-win mark, the 9-3 regular season record they had last year, but should still be a solid team under Pat Fitzgerald and get back to a bowl game. So they open up the season at Purdue, and I hate to say it, but I think the nation's longest win streak comes to an end in this game right here. Purdue did a great job last year under Jeff Brom. I was extremely surprised with the job he did with the Boilermakers, getting them back to a bowl game and winning that game over Arizona, so finishing the season 7-6. This game is going to be played on a Thursday night. It's on the road at Purdue. It's the season opener, and Purdue is going to have a really, really solid offense with 9 returning starters on that side of the ball. So I think I like Purdue's offense a little bit better than Northwestern's offense, but I actually like Northwestern's defense a little bit better than Purdue's defense, which only returns 4 starters and is actually going to be fairly weak, nothing compared to what they were like last year. But I think with Purdue having home field advantage, with them being hyped after the way they ended the season last year, I'm going to give them the win here with it being at home. But I really could see this game going either way. It would not surprise me to see Northwestern come in to Purdue and get the win there. And then Northwestern get the win here over Duke, a big-time revenge game for the Wildcats after losing to Duke 41-17 on the road last year. And I really didn't see that coming. Duke was a team that barely had get into a bowl game just last season, but they're going to be a lot better this year with 15 returning starters, including 8 on the defensive side of the ball. But this game is at home. Northwestern is looking to avenge that beatdown they took last year. Although I do like this Duke team, although I do like this Duke offense, I think it's going to have a lot of firepower led by Daniel Jones and some solid wide receivers. I just don't see Duke coming in to Northwestern and getting the win there. And then another win over Akron. So they're going to be 2-1 going into their bye week, and that is one of the things that really doesn't benefit the Wildcats this season, is having their bye week come in week 4. So they're going to have 9 straight games that they have to play without a break. And coming out of the bye week, they face a big test in Michigan, one of the better teams in the Big Ten East. Certainly one that people consider could be the biggest threat to Ohio State in that division. And it's good that they have a bye week for this game, and it's good that they have this game at home. So maybe Northwestern could pull off the upset over the Wolverines, but I'm not really seeing it. This is a really, really dangerous Michigan team this year. 17 returning starters, Shea Patterson at quarterback, Karan Higdon, Chris Evans, Donovan People-Jones, all that firepower on the offensive side of the ball. And then the defense only returned 1 starter last year, returns 9 this year. So they're going to be a really, really solid team. Probably one of the better teams Jim Harbaugh has had during his time in Ann Arbor. So I'm going to give Northwestern a loss here despite coming off a bye week. Expect this game to be close, though. I mean, with it being at home, with them having that week of rest, I could see them giving Michigan a good test here, but I just don't see them getting the win. And then on the road at Michigan State, last year beating the Spartans in triple overtime, so a great game last year. But this time it's on the road. So Michigan State is going to look to avenge that loss, and Michigan State returns 19 starters, 10 on offense and 9 on defense. One of the better teams I think that Mark D'Antonio has had with the Spartans this year, and I really do like this Michigan State team to be a dark horse in the Big Ten East. It's on the road. Michigan State's got the revenge factor. I think they have too much talent on both sides of the ball, especially on the offensive side of the ball. L.J. Scott, Felton Davis, Brian Lewerke. I mean, those are your big 3 right there on the offensive side of the ball. And the defense, no slouch either. So I think they're going to get a loss on the road to the Spartans. And then Nebraska, back at home. A big-time game here. Scott Frost coming in as his first year as head coach at the Cornhuskers. Did a great job over at Central Florida. And Nebraska is a team that should get back to a bowl game this year. It really wouldn't surprise me if they got back to a bowl. They have a very tough schedule and have a couple questions on the offensive side of the ball. If they can get the offense clicking, though, this could be a really, really good team because I think their defense is going to be pretty solid. But they did allow 36.4 points per game last year. I expect that number to decrease a lot. But with it being at home and Nebraska having a couple questions on both sides of the ball, I think Northwestern gets a big win over the Cornhuskers here. And then on the road at Rutgers, certainly not a team that Northwestern can afford to overlook. A Rutgers team that I think will be improved this year, returning 15 starters. Chris Ash probably has his best team with the Scarlet Knights this year, I would think. Maybe Rutgers can improve and get to a bowl game or maybe 5 wins. It is on the road, so they certainly don't want to overlook that. But I think Northwestern's just going to have enough to get the win over Rutgers, so a win there. And then a big-time tough stretch here. They do get 2 of these games at home, but Wisconsin, Notre Dame, and at Iowa. So we'll start off with Wisconsin. By far, I think the heavy favorite in the Big Ten West. Alex Hornibrook, Jonathan Taylor, the entire offensive line returns, and then a Paul Chryst defense that we know is always going to be fairly dominant and usually tough to go up against. This was a game last year at Wisconsin that Northwestern actually was in until the very end. They had the ball with about a minute left, only down 7, then got a safety with around that mark and lost by 9. So they actually hung with the Badgers last year, but I think this is going to be even better Wisconsin team than it was last season. So despite it being at home, I think Wisconsin's going to be able to come on the road here and get a big time in over the Wildcats. I really think that's my favorite in the Big Ten West this season, so a loss there. And then Notre Dame, another team that I really like this season, one that I think people really don't need to sleep on. Everybody always hates on Notre Dame, and a lot of people don't like to see Notre Dame have a lot of success. But this is a Notre Dame team that can be really dangerous, one that should at least hit 10 wins, if not more. I really like Brandon Wimbush. I like their offense, but I even like their defense better with 9 returning starters on that side of the ball. I really think this Notre Dame team could surprise some people this year. So coming into Northwestern, I can see this game actually being a defensive battle. I can see the offense is trying to produce some points there, but I think with Northwestern's defense going up against a veteran Notre Dame defense, it could be fairly low scoring, but I'm going to give the edge to the Fighting Irish here. A loss for Northwestern. And then, unfortunately, another loss for Northwestern on the road at Iowa. Iowa, by far, one of the toughest places to play. Kinnick Stadium. We've seen some of the biggest upsets in the recent years come at Iowa. Ohio State last year, 2 years ago, Michigan. So Iowa, and certainly not a slouch this year. I really like Nathan Stanley. They did lose Akram Wadley at running back, but have a solid backup to replace him. And the defense with 6 returning starters should be fairly dominant there as well. So with this game being at home and Iowa certainly not being a slouch this year, I'm going to give the win to the Hawkeyes. And so right now you've got Northwestern sitting at 4 wins with 2 weeks left to play. And luckily their 2 remaining opponents are no, powerhouses. You've got Minnesota on the road and Illinois to close out the year. So if you go on the road to Minnesota, you're facing PJ Fleck and a Gophers team that really was better than that 5-7 record indicated last year. They do have a lot of questions on the offensive side of the ball. The offense just really couldn't get much production going last year, but the defense I think is actually going to be pretty strong this year. But it is on the road. I think Northwestern, knowing what is at stake going into this game, is going to get. And personally, I think Northwestern, being more experienced than the Golden Gophers this year, I think are going to be able to go on the road and get a big time win over the Golden Gophers. That's going to get them to 5 wins, and Illinois is going to get them over the top for 6 wins. Illinois, a team under Lovie Smith that really hasn't produced much result over the past couple of years. He's had a very young Illinois team this year, even younger, despite returning 16 starters. Most of these players are freshmen and sophomores. I think they only have about 5 seniors projected to start on this team. So a very young Illinois team that, once again, I don't see competing much in the Big Ten. So Northwestern gets a 6-6 record on the year, and some people might not agree with that, and that is fine. But last year they went 9-3. With some better talent, I think. This year, a little more inexperienced, but still has plenty of talent on both sides of the ball. Looking at the losses that I had down that could turn into potential wins for Northwestern, the only one I see, maybe the only 2 I see, is Iowa and Purdue. Those are the only 2 games I could maybe see going Northwestern's way that I have down as losses right now. I think more so Purdue than Iowa. So maybe Northwestern can get to the 7-win mark, maybe even the 8-win mark, but right now I have them just making a bowl game at 6-6. But certainly had the potential to go in and pull off some upsets and do better, but certainly not going to get back to that 9-3 mark or the 10-3 mark with a bowl win. But obviously Pat Fitzgerald doing a great job with the Northwestern program. I expect it to continue again this year with plenty of talent and plenty of coaching experience. So I'm very excited to see what the Wildcats do and see how they can compete in the Big Ten West. So as always, please go check us out on Twitter at Gridiron Expert, on Instagram at The Gridiron Expert, and always here on YouTube. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on the Gridiron Expert.